Well, welcome to Richie's Roost. It'll be the first time in a while we've gotten together, and I've missed you. But let me give you a few reasons why it's been a while since we got together. As I told you, I think in one of the last videos we did, we are in the process of moving from Shaco, Richie's Roost in Shaco, and welcome here, by the way, down to the Mississippi Gulf Coast. And we have been busy people. We moved here some 52 years ago, and it is absolutely amazing the accumulation of stuff that has to be tended to before you move from one place to the other. This will be the first time we've moved in 52 years. But I thought I'd kind of go through a little history of this place with you this morning, just to bring back a few memories that we have when I think about them. I was working for IBM at the time. I was a salesman at IBM in Jackson, Mississippi, in the data processing division. And 3 of us IBM sales type bought 250 acres out here in Madison County, which was wilderness at the time. We came up with a plan whereby we were going to divide the 250 acres up into 5-acre plots and sell them as an investment. By the way, you may hear things all through this video. Somebody's getting ready for dove season, sounds like. They're shooting clay pigeons over there in the background, in the backyard, back what used to be my North 40. You may hear an air conditioning in the studio kick up. The wind's blowing, so I'm not sure in my outdoor studio I can do anything about that. Just try to ignore them all. But anyway, we moved out here with 250 acres, and we're going to build it and cut it up into little 5-acre plots and sell them as an investment. And I was to build a house on the first 5 acres as a kind of a starter to get it started and kicked off, which we did. Perry and I and the kids moved up here in the house in December of 1971, November 1971. Well, we kind of liked it. Matter of fact, when we moved into this place, you could not see another light from anywhere. When it turned the lights out, it got dark. But when we turned the lights out, and as dark as it was, you could walk out in our backyard, and the stars were so close you could almost touch them. We fell in love with this place. To net it, we had all the kids, and Perry and I had our horses and dogs and cats and chickens and ferrets and cows and Lord knows what all else. And I got the feeling from Perry that maybe we ought to consider staying out here. So as a net result, we bought the other 2 partners out, and we've been here ever since. Now, Canton was just a little country town at that time. Madison County at that time, Mississippi, was the 2nd poorest county in the state, and it's just north of Jackson, which is the state capital. We started acclimating toward the smaller town a couple of 3 days after we moved into our house. But before we moved in, I remember one of the salesmen at IBM telling me, "Jim, you're 35 minutes away from the office. That's a long way to drive in the morning, a long way to drive home at night." Hear that gun? You hear him practicing that shotgun. He said, what are you going to do when gasoline hits 50 cents a gallon? I said, well, I'll pay it, I reckon. To net it, we decided to stay here for the foreseeable future. And about 2 days after we moved in, there was a knock on our door. We went to the door, and there stood two short people. They were the Davises from about 2 miles down the road. He in a suit and tie, she in her Sunday dress with her little hat and white gloves, both in their 60s. And they had come to call and welcome us into the neighborhood. That was our initial contact in Canton after we built the house. Well, a couple of stories about this place called Canton. We had been told that Canton was a closed, very cold little community. All the people in Jackson told us we would not like it here at all. Canton, Mississippi is about 7 miles from Shockoe here. The closest barbershop is in Canton. But we were told it was a closed, cold little community. What they didn't say was that the people from Jackson who came up here went to the doctor in Jackson, went to the church in Jackson, bought their groceries in Jackson, and expected the people up here to take them into the community as if they belonged. About a week after we moved in, one of my old college roommates lived here, invited me to come and be his guest at the Rotary Club, which I did. And I was invited right then to join the Rotary Club, which I did, and it was a good move. About 60 citizens, members of the Rotary Club, and we had a great time. But about the second week we were here, I got a notice that I had a registered letter in the post office. So that afternoon after work, I ran up to the post office, got there before it closed, and asked them if I could pick up my registered letter. The postmaster was there, and he said, well, your wife came by a little earlier today, and we just gave it to her. Thought we'd save you a trip. I said, well, I didn't know you could give a registered letter to somebody other than that person that it was addressed to. He said, well, we gave it to your wife. Assumed that was okay. I said, yeah, that was okay. So when I got home, I told Perry about it. I said, you're not going to believe. I went by the post office today to pick up that registered letter, and they told me they had given it to you. She said they did. Very nice people. Told me they thought it might save you a trip. But she said, let me tell you something. I said, what? She said, I walked outside the post office, and there was a policeman leaning up against my car. And I looked to see if it parked in a handicapped zone or what the problem was, and it worried me a little bit. So I spoke to him. He said, are you Miss Ritchie? She said, yes, sir. He said, you all just moved in about 7 miles east of town out there, didn't you? She said, yes, sir. He said, well, I noticed a little puddle of water under your car here, and I didn't know whether it was water condensed off the air conditioner or whether you might have a leak. And I thought you might better have it checked before you drive all the way out there. I wouldn't want anything to happen to you on the road out. Try that in Jackson, Mississippi, or any other big town. That was our initiation into Canton, and it just got better from there. The kids had their horses and dogs, and I had my bird dogs, and built a barn and could turn my dogs loose, and there were 6 coveys of quail I could put my hands on any one time I wanted to. It's been a wonderful 52 years. But it's time to move. And so that's what we've been doing, is getting all of our stuff together, what we need, what we don't need, what we anticipate that we'll need, and where to get rid of the rest of it and how to do that. So I beg your forgiveness for not getting back together, and I will probably not hold to a rigid schedule for a while from now on, for at least, well, some undetermined amount of time. But just stay with us. You know, I'll still be alive as I am now. And the kind of like Mark Twain said at one time, the rumors of my demise have been greatly exaggerated. So, by the way, I forgot to tell you, we are sitting in the shade right now at Richie's Roost in Chaco, and it is 100 degrees in the shade. But there's a little wind blowing, so it's not too bad. Anyway, that's our condition now. We have rented a place in Gulfport, Mississippi, and as soon as we sell Richie's Roost, it's up for sale. The house, the studio, which is bigger than the house, it's a beautiful place. We've had, in the great room in the studio, it's a big area. We've had prayer fests out here and Bible studies and church meetings, and we've had parties and receptions, and we even had a wedding out here one time, and it worked well. I have an apartment upstairs in the studio, and guests come, spend the night, do that. Make a great mother-in-law place. So if you know anybody's looking for a wonderful place in the country, give us a call. I'm going to leave with one little quote that I ran across the other day. I know, let me say this. I've been fussing about the things that we've been doing, the moving and the problems and so on. But when you compare those problems to what our friends and neighbors and fellow citizens are going through at this time in Hawaii, I don't have any problems, and you probably don't either when you compare those. So keep them in your prayers as we are, and donate it to them as we will. What a shame. We don't know what the Lord has in mind when that kind of thing happens, but we will keep the faith and soldier on. But in all the fussing and fighting that's going on in the country today, I ran up on something that I thought might be interesting to you, and I'll close this little video with this. There was a lady, very wise lady, matter of fact, named Marilyn Vos Savant. She used to have a column, may still have it, newspaper. She said, what is the essence of America? The essence of America is finding and maintaining that perfect, delicate balance between freedom to and freedom from. Think about that. So, with that, and I look forward to getting back with you before too long. Keep the faith. Pray for us too. I would appreciate that. I'm Jim Ritchie, and I'll see you again next time.